Don't you think that asking for help may be seen as weak?
Singapore is definitely a pragmatic society. Made known to younger children nowadays.
Yeah, I agree. Because I remember in those days during my time, there's very little focus on mental health. And when you have things like ADD, ADHD, people just label you as lazy, you're not attentive, you're just talkative. Welcome to the very first episode of the Reset Show by True North Academy. This show is all about helping you take control of your energy, your mindset, and your next chapter in life. So whether you're navigating midlife, managing stress, or just want to get stronger and sharper through the years, you're at the right place. I'm your host, Lloyd Gan, age reset coach and speaker, and someone who's lived through a few reinventions myself. In this podcast, I'm going to bring on friends, experts, and everyday warriors who's managed to age powerfully, physically, mentally, and emotionally. And what better way to kick this off with someone I go way back with, from banking days to training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the same class. He's now a trained counselor helping people with depression and anxiety. He brings a well-grounded, real-life view on mental wellness and healthy aging. Please join me in welcoming Chris Tan.
Thank you, Lloyd, for having me.
So Chris and I go way back to our banking days. It's up to you to guess how long that is ago. So eventually we progressed to our own individual careers in the entrepreneurial world, and by some stroke of fate, we actually met each other in the BJJ mats in a gym, and we trained together. So it's very interesting because eventually Chris progressed from being a white belt all the way to winning gold medals in competitions. So we were actively competing in regional competitions back then. It's a very interesting phase of our lives. So Chris, you've gone from strength to strength. I've seen you train as a white belt all the way to competing in competitions and even getting gold medals, right? So which is tougher to you? Handling high stress environments like rolling with a beast or handling high stress clients?
Definitely rolling with a beast, especially dangerous beasts. Clients are much easier. Clients tend to be accommodating, respectful, and their challenges are typically well within my ability. But when it comes to BJJ, we normally have to roll with any partner, even people who are much more experienced than us, different sizes, and for someone that's new or inexperienced, it can be quite daunting, quite challenging.
And also rather risky, right?
It can be risky. And we have to respect that risk, and we respect that risk by respecting our partner, showing care and concern, and we hope that they'll do the same for us as well.
So they're very good lessons of discipline and caution gleaned from BJJ, right?
Definitely, because sometimes the opponent or your partner gets their energy from you. So if you're calm and relaxed and you talk to them in a very nice and relaxed way, they will calm down as well. But if you show antagonism or you show too much energy, they might replicate that, and
so it's like a reflection. Your
can be a reflection.
Is like a reflection of your energy.
And so we have the ability to influence our partners to calm them down so that we can have an easier role.
It's a very interesting way to look at it. So in your course of being a beginner all the way to your lofty gold medals, right? We competed in the same arena before, although not against each other. How has the journey felt like? I mean, you've gone through like years of training. How does it feel to you?
It was fun. I enjoyed it. And part of the enjoyment is to be able to do with a friend, someone that is actually like yourself, who's actually a much higher level than I was able to guide me and teach me and give me advice so that, we don't reinvent the wheel by making the same, choices or mistakes.
Thank you. You overflattered me.
In fact, as I remember, it's because of your help and your tutelage is the reason why I was medal quite early in my competition.
You're most welcome, and you've been a very thoughtful and conscientious. Can I call you like a fellow trainee?
Definitely. I learned a lot from you, for sure.
Thank you. I really appreciate that too. So Chris, what do you think BJJ teaches us, especially as we age, about resilience?
Well, when it comes to resilience, it teaches us to be in an unfamiliar and sometimes uncomfortable situation. And we have to adapt to it, get used to it, and function within that scene, that
I
scenario.
know how pressurizing that can be. Yeah. I've been in that, needless to say, countless times.
I know, because you put a lot of pressure on a lot of people. I tend to pick much nicer, easier, cleaner partners.
You're just being humble. So, from your perspective and experience, what's one way you can stay injury-free in training and sane?
All right. Actually, for the majority of my BJJ experience, I have been injury-free. I have no permanent damage. And one of the reasons is because I'm quite aware of the injuries that can be sustained from the sport. And so I've avoided it. So I've
Nice.
always partnered with people that I deem to be safe. I always talk to them, telling them that I want an easy roll. I just want to take it easy. And and I'm friendly to all the people that I roll with. And because of that, people are nice to you. People take care of you if you're good to them. And they know that I'm not very competitive in training. Although it's different in competition, but in training, I think that relationship helps a lot. And so I don't get injured. And in terms of maintaining sanity, I think that one of the biggest challenges that many BJJ practitioners have is that they tend to overtrain and they burn out physically.
Right. So would that physical burnout also translate to mental burnout eventually? Because you stop wanting to go to training because it's less and less motivating for you. Don't you think?
Well, for most people who go to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, they are students or working people.
Right.
And they have a life outside of the mats.
Yes.
And so they've got work pressures, family pressures, study pressures. And it takes mental, physical, and emotional energy to do all those things. So when they are on the mats and they're training physically so hard, it can tip them over in terms of consumption of energy, specifically
Right.
mental, physical, and also emotional.
Right.
And it can cause burnout.
Right.
And if this is actually cycled through every single day for many, many months, it can lead to depression.
I see. Now you're a counselor helping people with anxiety and depression, right? So from your experience, do you feel that people these days in their 40s and 50s are aging better or worse?
Well, people in the 40s and 50s, from my perception, they are not much different from people who are in the 60s and 70s. They don't really have that much attention spent towards aging well. But this is quite different for people who are in the 20s and 30s, people who grow up in the internet age.
Right.
And also, especially in Singapore, where the government and the schools have been teaching them about mental health,
Right.
teaching them about work-life balance and study balance. And we see this through the education system as well, how the Ministry of Education has been changing the syllabus,
Yes.
focusing more on a more holistic approach rather than just studies. Like, for example, this year they've moved away from 2 exams a year. You remember 2 exams a year?
Yep.
Well, nowadays the kids don't do 2 exams anymore a year. They just do 1 exam a year, which is actually a lot less pressure on them.
So in a way, the young these days have a slight upper hand than those in the 40s and 50s, right? In terms of awareness, mental health awareness.
Definitely. I mean, when you might remember those times when you went to school and went to the school canteen and there's a poster and it says, wash your hands before you
Yes.
go there. Now you go to that same wall and it's got like wash your hands and wear a mask and don't push your friends and how to be respectful and
right.
don't take upskirt videos and they also talk to you about being aware of your feelings, that help is available with the counselors, and these things are more made known to younger children nowadays.
Yeah, I agree. Because I remember in those days during my time, there's very little focus on mental health, and when you have things like ADD, ADHD, people just label you as lazy. You're not attentive. You're just talkative. That there isn't even an outlet or a channel to actually focus on.
That's absolutely true. And that's changed a lot, and it's testament to the ability of the Ministry of Education to be a learning organization, learning from their past experiences and from their teachers, from the counselors, and improving the system.
Right.
So the young people today benefit from those changes.
Thanks for that perspective. I never actually look at it that way. What's one mental habit that you've seen help people age gracefully?
If I could sum it up in one word, it's consistency. Everyone's got their own anti-aging ideas. As long as you do it consistently, every day or every week, from young till the time that you're older, you're going to benefit from it.
Makes sense. So from your experience, do men generally suck at expressing emotions, or is that an outdated stereotype?
Well, women are actually more in tune to their feelings and more in tune to expressing how they feel. So there's a biological element to it. But I think that gap between women and men has definitely narrowed over the years, especially since nowadays with a change in gender role ideologies.
Right.
Also because school systems, through their efforts in terms of explaining what feelings are and helping children express themselves better,
Right.
and having counselors, and also parents being more proactive, being more aware, and being more understanding of their child's needs. Parenting has changed 20 years ago and 30 years ago and today. A lot of the parents today are very modern and they use modern techniques. So this helps children basically be more expressive and understanding, in both guys and girls. And of course, you've got Korean drama and Taiwanese dramas, where the guys are crying on TV. Yeah, we have all that.
Do you feel that some people, when they age beyond 40s, right, they feel totally lost while others thrive? Is there a reason for that?
There are two reasons why people over 40 might feel lost. The first reason is disillusionment. And the second reason is that they never had a plan to begin with in life.
Right.
So for example, if I may elaborate,
Sure.
a person can feel disillusioned because they had a plan. They would finish school, get a job, enter into a relationship, maybe even have children. And at some point in time, they wonder whether or not that's what they really wanted and whether or not they're really happy in that situation. The second situation is where a person never had a plan to begin with.
Right.
So they just went through life. Someone said, I have got to go to school, so I go to school. Someone said I had to get a job, so I got a job. But they never really thought about their career path. They never really have a balanced lifestyle. They didn't maybe eat well. They didn't exercise well. They didn't have a good, they didn't achieve a good physique. They may not have had good relationships. And they may feel dissatisfied because their life is coasting in a way.
Right. Can you share with us, let's say, assuming we are on number one, which is actually having a clear path, right? Following a clear path and then being disillusioned with that path, because certain things don't always fall in place in life, right? So which is worse, having a clear path and not having things fall in place, or having no path at all and then just letting things go on its own course?
I think the maturity of the person does matter.
Okay.
Because when people are growing up from being a child to becoming an adult, they have yet to really understand how the world works. So as they're growing up, and you might remember those times when you're in school, people will ask you a question, what do you want to be when you grow up?
That's true.
And
Yes.
and who knows, right? And this is where parents would normally guide their child and give them advice based on their perception of what the child's good at or what they see as a good opportunity in the future. And some children, they become doctors because their parents ask them to.
True.
And it's not what they wanted, but when they enter into the industry, they can have a good job, high income, a fulfilling life in a way, but it may not be what they wanted. They may have said, you know what, I like art.
Yes.
I wish I'd done something in sports instead.
Yes. This kind of narratives is quite common in lives. We hear a lot about it, right? It's like basically the children living their parents' dreams, right?
That's true, but I think parents want the best for their children, and parents can objectively say, recognizing the child's ability. The child may be good in their studies and can go into medicine, but the child may also be interested in sports. But I think the child, as they grow older, will recognize that when it comes to their potential, it's okay to separate between their careers and their hobbies. So it's okay to actually be a doctor and earn good income and do good in society. At the same time, in your spare time, play soccer with your friends.
That's actually something of an interesting perspective, because do you think that in Singapore's context, we are more geared towards pragmatic means of pragmatic achievements? For example, if you're talking about playing soccer, the parent would want the child to go all the way to be a soccer star, because that will be where they can make the optimum income for the family. Whereas for a doctor, if you go all the way to be a doctor, it's almost assured. The income goal is almost assured vis-a-vis that of a soccer star, right? In Singapore, do you think that is like more likely the case than not?
Singapore is definitely a pragmatic society, but it is what made Singapore great today. Because we have to remember the history of Singapore. When it's separated from Malaysia, it's a nation without much resources.
That's true.
Its
We
resource
have only the sun.
is the human resource. In the son, in a way, is basically the child, right? And the child's the resource. And we have to be pragmatic because we have to put food on the table.
True.
So families in the past may not have had an education. They would have had to place their hopes and dreams of their retirement and their future lifestyle on their child. And many parents have sacrificed a lot for their children. So sometimes children have to be pragmatic as well.
Can I put a humorous spin on this? Is it because parents sometimes feel that the children is actually a form of ROI? So I invested this much, I think I must get back some form of ROI in return. Do you think that's the case?
Well, I think the nature and understanding of how people perceive parenting is very different in the past. Because in the past, many years ago, there is a system already in play where parents would work, they will raise children, and then the children would take care of them as they get older. Because in the past, we didn't have the stock market, we didn't have pension funds.
Yeah.
So the child is in fact the pension for the parent.
The CPF.
But now that we have that in place, things have changed. Many parents nowadays are very independent of their child. They don't need the child to actually care for them or provide for them in the future.
True.
But it's still nice to have that close relationship.
I agree. So Chris, with your wisdom today, right, if you could relive one area of your life, be it BJJ, banking, or your counseling work, what would it be and why?
Okay. If I had a choice to choose an era, I'll pick an era even before work, which is university. First day of university.
Interesting.
I'll go back to that era.
Interesting. Could you share with us why?
Well, if I had the knowledge that I had today, then I would be a lot more confident in terms of people skills. You know, when you go to university, you don't know the environment, you don't know how to make friends, you don't know how to get girls, right? And
so instructions were given to you now because of wisdom of hindsight.
If I had the skills that I have today and the knowledge, university would have been a lot of fun. Absolutely a lot of fun.
Cool.
So that would be the era I would pick.
Interesting.
And the rest of it, I guess, is hard to change it because it's through life experiences, the challenges that we face, the circumstances that we're in, that allows us to actually grow from it. So many of the experiences that I draw on today as a counselor also comes from my personal life experiences.
Right.
And it's true, having the experience is what makes me, I guess, better as a counselor. Having that experience plus the knowledge learned from it, which equates to wisdom.
Interesting. That's why they say it's always our past experiences that conditions us and shape us into who we are, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So speaking of that, right, what's one thing you love in your 20s that now makes you go, that's a hard no?
When I was in my 20s, I would play a game of badminton, and together with one of my friends, we'll go to KFC and we'll order 15 pieces of chicken.
The bucket.
The bucket,
Yeah.
as you remember it. And he would eat 8 and I would eat 7. I think today there will be a hard no.
Okay.
But you got to remember as well, right? The chickens then were pretty big, you know, as opposed to the chickens today, which have gone through shrinkflation.
Shrinkflation. And would you say it's also a little bit less processed in those days? Do you feel like it tastes a little bit more, I can't put my finger on it, but it feels less processed. It feels more like real meat.
I think the scientists would probably argue that it probably tastes the same. Maybe it's our taste buds that has changed over the years.
Okay. So maybe you want to explain to the audience what you mean by shrinkflation.
Well, shrinkflation just means that companies in a pursuit to actually make a bit more money or to preserve their profit margins, they actually will reduce the size of their goods and service. So for example, a Big Mac in the past used to be maybe this big and now it's this big.
Right.
And chicken thigh in the past used to be like this big and now it's like this big.
I think we all can attest to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So maybe I could still eat 7 now, but it will still be a hard no.
Okay, understand that. So aging comes with wisdom and also weird body aches, right? So what's one thing that you notice that you've been complaining frequently about?
It's true. Typically, with age comes wisdom. And when you have wisdom, people look up to you. And there was one person that looked up to me and said that he noticed that some of my nose hair was white.
Okay.
So, although we may age physically, how we live our life and the choices that we make determines whether we age gracefully, mentally, physically, and emotionally.
That's a very motivating angle, actually. And you do look very young for your age. Do you mind if I share with the audience what your actual age is?
Sure, go ahead.
So Chris is actually near 50 years old this year. And do you mind further sharing with the audience what's your secret to looking young?
Personally, sleep, recovery, and what we eat is very important. So allow me to share. So
Sure.
I would have my dinner before 8 p.m. and then I won't eat anything until lunch the next day. So I would be intermittently fasting for about 16 hours.
Right. So it's a 16-8 regime.
And then I will also set my phone to do not disturb from 11 p.m. all the way to 7 a.m. And I will sleep very regularly to make sure that my circadian rhythm is very, very consistent.
Right, right.
And next thing I would do is that I'm very particular about what I eat. So I would typically choose to eat at home so I can control the nutrition that I actually consume so that my body has all the necessary building blocks for it to recover, heal, and grow.
So can I just consolidate and crystallize it into 3 points? Eat well, sleep well, and live well.
Yes.
So far, we've only talked about the physical aspects of aging, right? So what's some tips that you can share with the audience to mentally age well as well?
I'll say if I could give one important tip, it would be to sleep well.
Okay.
Sleeping is very important because
Right.
our body goes through a process of recovery, as you mentioned in your videos as well.
True.
So sleep is very important. Sleeping at a regular time for sufficient number of hours, having good sleep. That means sleeping quickly, sleeping deeply without waking up, and also waking up feeling refreshed. If you're doing these things and you're feeling this way, you're gonna feel better because sleep, as you already know, improves your ability to focus. It preserves and protects your memory.
Yes, for sure.
It allows you to physically recover from injuries and also from your day-to-day activities. And so there's so many benefits. So sleep is number one.
Right, got that. So when we're talking about deep sleep, right? What scientific aspect of it would be REM, which is like rapid eye movement. To go into deep sleep, you need to achieve REM, right? So are there any techniques or short bite-sized tips that you can share with the audience on how to get deeper sleep?
Actually, there are two answers to this. The first answer would be sleep methods. So sleep routines, like for example, no phones 1 hour before your sleep.
Agreed.
Making sure your room's dark, having a cool room. Those things are the physical aspect of it. But if you're doing those things and you're still having poor sleep or having very bad dreams, it's very likely you may have emotional challenges. And this is where therapy actually helps. So as a counselor, many of my customers have sleep issues and they have got good sleep habits,
Right.
but still have poor sleep. Because
Right.
one of the symptoms of depression is in fact poor sleep. So by resolving the emotional challenges, which includes depression, the person can sleep better after that
Okay.
with all the techniques that they have.
That's very insightful. Interesting angle. And are you saying that poor sleep also affects aging?
Sleep is very important because sleep allows our body to go through the process of repairing itself.
Agreed.
We've all been in that situation where we've actually worked late into the night and didn't have enough sleep.
Yep.
Did we look good the next day?
Of course not.
Absolutely. And that's the challenge as well. So people who are sleep deprived or have very poor sleep over a long period of time, they tend to age more. They look more tired all the time, and it can be negative to their health. Similarly, if a person sleeps well through better sleep habits, like what you're suggesting, or by resolving the emotional challenges, their sleep will naturally improve. And once their sleep improves, a lot of things in their life will actually get better.
That's why I also share with my audiences that if you don't sleep well, there's also a buildup of cortisol. And some of my clients ask me, why do I train so hard? At the same time, I'm still accumulating fat. So that's actually a very interesting perspective you brought up, which is the buildup of cortisol when you're not sleeping well, because you tend to also age faster. And not only you age faster, you also not only lose gains, but also lose whatever results that you intend to build over time with resistance training. The importance of better sleep, that it's not only you get better gains from resistance training, but you also reduce the amount of cortisol in your body. On the topic of aging, how important do you think humor is, or what part it plays in aging?
Humor is very important because when we laugh, our body produces certain chemicals that's actually beneficial to us.
Like endorphins, oxytocin,
Yeah. There's an old saying that we don't stop laughing because we grow old, but we grow old because we stop laughing.
So Chris, for my audience and listeners out there, right, who feel behind in life after 40 and beyond, what's your advice for them?
If you're facing life challenges, ask for help. Ask your friends for help. Ask your colleagues and your boss for help. Ask your family for help. People are generally very kind. They are understanding, and many of them are very helpful.
True.
If you know what to do, but you have difficulty getting motivated to do it, then I would suggest that perhaps you look at finding a counselor to help you to resolve your emotional challenges so that you can feel motivated to do it.
Okay, that's really good advice. But in today's context, don't you think that asking for help may be seen as weak?
When we're in school, we are taught to ask questions whenever we don't know anything. And the reason for that is because the teacher has all the knowledge and we're still learning.
Right.
When we're in the workforce, we have to also recognize that for example, for a young graduate going to work, they may not have all the knowledge. Yes, they have the abilities, the attitude to be able to do well in their careers in the long term, but they may not know the company processes, the product so well, or where to find something.
Right.
And so by asking for help, you engage the seniors. And through that process of asking for help, the people around you also understand the limits of your understanding and your ability, which allows them to train you better and also to guide you and help you. Because in the workforce, most managers want to get stuff done and they want to help their staff. One of the challenges that many managers have is that they don't know how to help the staff. So if you put up your hand and ask for help, it's in fact the opposite. It's a show of strength, maturity when you ask for help. And many companies would like you to actually put up your hand and ask for help. There could be some situations where the colleagues or the maybe somewhat toxic,
right?
And they may say certain things that are negative, but what they're doing perhaps could be inappropriate. And if everyone in the company is behaving that way and it's a toxic culture, leave.
That's a pretty unconventional tip. You want to elaborate further on that?
Sure. So if a staff was to be unsure about how to do something and puts up their hand and a senior or a boss helps them, that person should be able to perform that job function now better. And if that person were to put up their hand and just acknowledge the fact that that senior or their boss helped them to get better and they've improved as a result, that senior or that manager will look at that person and feel a connection, a bond. And that bond is very important. And that bond would be a bond of, and also perception of respect, that he doesn't know much, but he's willing to put up his hand. It shows maturity. But very importantly is that you get to see the person that wasn't able to do something, now able to grow from that. And that itself, that investment, that is what connects two people, is what creates a bond.
Right. So it's a very good perspective, and like I said, it was unconventional, but it's also a very good advice. So from my perspective and how I understand it, right, it also stems from authenticity and win-win, because the subordinate being authentic in owning up that I do not know this, can I get some help from you? Yeah. And at the same time, when the manager steps in to help, it forms a synergistic link. So when the subordinate gets better at doing his or her work, it also benefits the manager's results from getting work done. So it's a very synergistic whole. Yeah. Am I right to see it from this angle?
Yes. And the most important element is where the person that sought help acknowledges that they've benefited and they've grown from that help. So for example, if you help me and I say to everybody else that, that Lloyd helped me in this difficult time, and it was without his help that I wasn't able to, it's with his help that I was able to do what I can do right now, how would you feel?
It's a very nice, warm feeling, because it's an expression of gratitude.
Absolutely. And that's actually, in fact, a good thing. And in the future, would you have a more positive impression of me, or more negative?
Definitely.
More positive
by
or
leaps
negative?
and bounds. More positive by leaps and bounds.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so it's counterintuitive, but as you do it, you realize the benefits of it. It's okay not to know everything.
Right.
And in fact, if you look at many senior management in companies, they're always asking their managers for help. Can you help me do this? Can you help me do that? But are they incompetent?
No.
They're not. But they ask for help because by allowing people to help you, you're showing humility, you're showing they respect their abilities, and they in turn understand your limitations as well.
Right.
And many people, they want to help. They want to be of assistance. And by giving them that opportunity, you create a bond.
Right. So it's back to the adage of help me to help you.
Yes.
Thank you for being here with us, Chris. So if there's a memo that every midlifer going through crisis would see, what would that memo say?
www.stress.sg.
Okay, please remember that. Thanks for tuning in to the very first episode of the Reset Show by True North Academy. If this conversation gave you a new perspective or even a good laugh, remember, it's never too late to reset. If you enjoyed the episode today, please remember to share, subscribe, and connect with us on IG and Facebook. The link's in the bio. Until then, live strong, stay bold, and never stop resetting. See you then.